On Sunday, election results of 4 states and 1 union territory were announced. Now, usually election season, and that too when the stakes are so high, is a time where everyone is looking very closely at the data, who's winning, who's not winning, and what its national implications are. This time around, though, I must say that elections were perhaps the last thing on a lot of people's minds. The focus has been and continues to be front and center on the COVID crisis that we're going through. Nevertheless, these are important results, and it's important to talk about what they mean for the national perspective, for how the opposition may group together ahead of 2024, and what it also means for the rise of regional leaders to even greater prominence in Indian politics. There are also perhaps some lessons here of what governance and COVID may have as an impact on politics going forward. So before we get to our discussion, just to take you through some very quick key takeaways of what we saw on result day on Sunday. Of course, we know that the TMC and Mamata Banerjee have registered a huge win, pushing back the BJP juggernaut with a 2/3 majority, and performed much better than even the most kind surveys had predicted. So surveys were once again relegated to not being able to read the mood. But this big win also puts Mamata Banerjee in pole position as an opposition leader, as the first among equals, perhaps, among regional leaders who want to group together to pose the BJP a challenge on a national stage. In fact, the West Bengal win could see other opposition leaders rally behind Mamata Banerjee in 2024, and this was indicative by all the congratulations that poured in for her. Another important point to note is that BJP becomes the biggest other player in West Bengal. There's no doubt about it that they are the primary opposition party. They are the other big player in West Bengal, and the left and Congress combined has been relegated to negligence. It would be kind to say that they're in third place. The Congress, let's talk a bit about the Congress. They've slid further with losses in West Bengal, in Assam, in Kerala. There is relief in Tamil Nadu, but that credit is going largely to Mr. Stalin, who will become chief minister after a 10-year wait in the opposition. The Kerala story is also an interesting one, where the LDF has broken the jinx of a revolving door, where one party precedes the next in every election. After 40 years, that has been broken, where one party has come back to power consecutively, and the LDF has done that. Is that a sign of how voters reward at least the perception of good governance, because they have been praised, and if they've maintained that perception, they did a good job with COVID management, at least in the first wave. Let's talk just for a minute about Assam as well, where Himanta Biswa Sarma has emerged as one of the trusted troubleshooters for the BJP, and one's waiting to see whether he's rewarded with the chief ministerial position. So these were the big takeaways. But what does this really mean for national politics going forward? Are we reading too much into it in terms of what could happen in 2024? To speak on this, I'm joined now by Mr. N. Ram and Sanjeev Srivastava. N. Ram, of course, is the director of the Hindu Publishing Group, and Sanjeev Srivastava is a political commentator. Welcome to both of you, and thank you for speaking with us. Mr. Ram, let me begin by your overall take on the elections and whether you feel there is a turning point that we're seeing with these results.
I don't know if it's a turning point, but it's certainly a big setback for the BJP, which threw everything into West Bengal. I think in Tamil Nadu they did some backseat driving, and in Kerala, of course, they've scored 0, although they were quite active there. So it is a big setback. I think it's shocking. I think the results in West Bengal, I don't know if they knew it earlier, because the opinion polls certainly didn't predict anything like this, or nor the exit polls. So I think it's a big setback for the BJP. In all 3 states, it's the opposition, the regional parties or alliances won a better than 2/3 majority, close to 70% in West Bengal and Kerala, and a little over 65% in Tamil Nadu. So it is. These are big wins, and in all cases they are opposed to the BJP. These parties, they've been Mamata Banerjee is the most aggressive of them. The left, of course, is opposed. But also, Stalin has been speaking out on all major issues there. So it is the time for regional parties, but whether this will translate into a sea change or even a turning point, I'll let my friend Sanjeev take that on.
After Mr.
The
Ram's,
question is about timing, Sanjeev. Yeah, let me put the question in though. I'm speaking with two stalwarts who analyze politics, but do allow me to put in the question, Sanjeev. The question is about timing. This is the mood in 2021. We're in the midst of a COVID pandemic. We're asking effectively today if this is going to impact what happens in 2024. Is that bit a little far-fetched?
Well, it will be, Tamanna, equally far-fetched if I really want to try and see through a looking glass as to what may possibly be the shape of Indian polity in 2024. So we can discuss what it looks like today. And to continue from where Mr. Ram left, what has happened is that the limits of both Mr. Modi and Mr. Amit Shah's, one's mass leader appeal and the other Chanakya type calculations and ground level organizational capabilities, the limits of that, as well as the limits of Hindu-Muslim polarizations, have been somewhat decided that this further, but no farther. So wherever there is a regional leader who can take on the might of BJP's election machinery and this very divisive campaign, the local leader trumps the BJP juggernaut. And this is not a flash in the pan kind of a thing. We saw the limits being decided somewhat in Maharashtra, but Devendra Fadnavis there clearly was the number one party. We saw the BJP coming back to power kind of hobbled. They have formed the government in Haryana, but they had to depend on outsiders. Jharkhand, they lost. So the only exception was Bihar, where the BJP performed very well. So my personal take is that the polarization politics largely has an impact in the two big North Indian or the cow belt, as we say, the UP-Bihar scenario. Other places it has its limits. And wherever there is a strong regional leader, they certainly have the capability to push back the Modi-Shah combined effort. So a great humbling experience for the BJP, in my view. This should be the Bengal results. And because all the emphasis was in Bengal, their victory, which is very creditable in Assam, has kind of pushed, because they had thrown their all in Bengal in terms of hype and in terms of the whole atmospherics, optics. So that's why, and now the other thing is some of the sideline leaders in the BJP will find their voice. Opposition narrative, I think it's still a long way off because they need to have a credible face who has a pan-India presence. Unfortunately, despite a huge win, Mamata may not carry the day on that score.
Do you think that's the case, Mr. Ram? The need for a pan-India face? In this particular election, you've had at least, I would say, 4 major leaders. I said 3 regional leaders. Himanta Biswa Sarma, also in a sense a regional leader, but belonging to the BJP. But you've seen that in Kerala. You've seen that in Tamil Nadu with MK Stalin. You're seeing it in West Bengal with Mamata Banerjee. You have strong regional leaders in their own right, who have shown the will and need to stand up against the force of the BJP. Do they need another cap on top, which is pan-India, to really take them on?
I think it's too early to think of pan-India, but if this grow, you take it in steps. The next round of elections will come early next year, so you take it in steps and see how it goes. They may have different programs, ideologies, policies, etc., but they can come together on the two issues, on what Sanjeev just mentioned, the limits of divisive politics based on blatant communal divisiveness, polarization. That's very clear. They violated every part of the model code of conduct. Yesterday, Prashant Kishore was interviewed on two major channels, and yesterday and today. And I had a brief talk with Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee. She said the Election Commission was an extent, was very partisan. Both of them made that point. And there's no doubt about it. One, the scheduling, and two, the blatant use of religious symbols and religious appeals, which clearly violate the election law and also the model code of conduct. I think these are issues which I'm mentioning this because regional parties and other parties can focus on these issues. And in fact, Prashant Kishore suggested they should get together and put pressure on the Election Commission. I think there are various ways of doing it. That's just one example. And I think those are the issues they can take up rather than take this grand scheme of, preparing for 2024. We don't know what's in store, but I think there are issues or how state rights are being suppressed or states are being denied their due, into whether it's vaccines or oxygen or whatever. Look at the mess made of the supply of vaccines. The central government earlier claiming the whole share and now, abandoning the states to their own devices. Who's going to pay for it? And so on. And there's a shortage also. So I think on all these are issues on which you can mobilize and they can find common ground, these parties, whatever their differences and ambitions are elsewhere or in their own states. So I think all these will bring them, it doesn't have to be a BJP government. It could well have been a Congress government which didn't respect state rights. It happened many times earlier. I think, but these are opportunities that are available to states under the Constitution, which is at the very least, it's quasi-federal, and it could be more federal. These are issues that I think should be rushed, and I'm not even going to GST and so on, share of that, because the states have lots of grievances.
Yes. So states can come together, at least on a federal platform, to unite on specific issues. I think the biggest challenge right now for all the newly sworn chief ministers and those who are returning would be to tackle the COVID crisis head on. This is something which is really what politics is all about. Mobilize yourself, mobilize your cadre, put all the might of the state machinery behind you to help people right now for COVID-19. That's what will make them want to keep you in power, and that's what you owe them at the very least. Thank you so much to you, N. Ram and Sanjeev Srivastava, for joining us today.